Another thing you did in TNA, which I find very interesting, is it was you and Antonio Banks against America's Most Wanted, and Antonio
Yes.
Banks went on to become MVP.
Yeah. So we actually just talked about that at Raw. Uh, yeah. I mean, it's I'll always give him the credit for it. It's just something small, but like it was just one of those things where we were both trying to get a look, and right before we go out, Banks and I had known Banks from Florida Indies anyways, because by that point I had already started traveling pretty heavily. I was fortunate enough. God bless, Jimmy Rave always helped me uh, get my name out there. Because again, going back to the do as I say, not as I do training techniques, nobody ever taught me about sending out tapes. Nobody told me about sending the 8x10s. So my first couple of years, I didn't because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I just did, I just thought promoters would hear about your exploits and book you. I didn't understand you had to put in the work to get booked. And Jimmy was one of the first guys that that kind of showed me like, oh no, 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 got contact this guy here and send this here, and he really, really, really went out of his way to help me in that aspect. But like I said, so I had known Banks anyways, and literally right before we walk out, he goes, "Hey, you want to do something just to see if we can catch their eye? Like maybe here I come, I'm big and bad, and then like you stop me and cut me off and preen for the camera or something." And I was like, "Oh my god, character work! That's my favorite stuff." Yes, and it was just something small that did it actually got picked up on the Fox Sports when they aired it, which I thought was super cool. But it was just one of those things where like Banks he's always had a mind for what to do when the camera's on. When that light's on, you know, he knew how to turn it up even way back then. But like I said, I just saw Banks at Raw a couple weeks ago, and when we were when when he realized, because I had already spoken to Omos when when he walked up and he was like, "Oh, you're working with my guy tonight?" He goes, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh, you got to take care of Sal. He was my tag team partner back in 1992."
That's great.
Yeah,
But yeah, he had star presence, and still obviously still does to this
immediately.
day. Just
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like when the guys, you've always heard the stories about guys rebooking the territory when they're in the cars going from towns. And when FIP first started running hot and heavy with Gabe, uh, Banks was one of those guys that, like, when he would be brought up, I'd go, "Oh, I can't even fantasy book this guy. He's not long for this world. Like, he's going to
wow.
be signed. He's going to be signed.
Yes.
Like you just knew it. I mean, he had the size, he had the look, he had the ability to talk, he had it. And I mean, if anything, he proved me correct.
Yeah.
The four guys in that car is like Sal nailed it on that one.
A guy who I had that opinion of it much later, and I think in a way it might have slowed down his push in Ring of Honor was Dijak. Because here's a guy,
Yes,
he's huge, he's in great shape, he's a tremendous athlete, and it seemed like he was never really pushed in some of the bigger companies. And then he was signed. I think everybody knew it's like, well, we can only push him for so long because he's going to be out the door.
yeah, he's gone. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with that theory more. Yeah.